Hey there guys, it's Cameron from Coaster Web here today, and we're reviewing Nemesis today. This coaster is a B&M invert that opened in 1994 at Alton Towers, designed by John Wardley. This ride is well known for being one of the most intense coaster experiences you can have in the world, and it really lives up to that title in my opinion. The intensity runs throughout the entire ride. Because it's so low to the ground, it makes it feel even more intense. That's because Alton Towers can't build above the tree height, so therefore they had to dig down, and they've done that ever since in a lot of their rides, but this was the first time that they dig down. So really this is a John Wardley masterpiece, and I love going on this coaster every time I go on it. It's so crazy to think that this coaster, which is so old, from 1994, is still so smooth, when you think that another coaster from 1994, the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, is so rough in comparison. It is amazing to see that Nemesis is such a smooth yet such intense ride. And therefore, let's jump right into the ride layout. So credits go to Coaster Force for this on-ride POV. Here we are at the top of the chain lift, and as we leave the chain lift we curve down into this drop. There is more of a slope, in fact, not much of a drop, but yet it still gains intensity going into that corkscrew. And then we go through this bank turn and into a 0G roll, down into the caves through another bank's turn, before we proceed into the vertical loop on Nemesis. Very intense element, through to another bank's turn, under the tunnel, through some caves again, into another corkscrew, before going through our final bank's turns that still pick up lots of intensity, going into the brake run. So in the layout, every element is placed in a specific place, just to give the maximum amount of intensity possible for this coaster. The layout is something incredibly impressive, something that is impossible to not admire. The theming is very much in the same league. It is themed to an alien invasion of some sort, with a massive alien as the station building for the coaster, which looks like it's crawling around, and it looks like there's actually track pieces of Nemesis flying off it and everything. And the theming for this ride is therefore really cool. How the ride dives through the little caves, the tunnels, and how it dives down into the bits that have been dug down during the construction, I find it incredibly admirable overall, because the theming also fits really well into the intense layout of this ride and aids it, if anything. For the smoothness of this ride, this is still one of the smoothest rides out there. It's a B&M. Despite being so old, from the 1990s, it still is incredibly smooth, and it really shows the quality of B&M's work that it is still such a smooth ride. And also, overall, my opinions on this ride are that it is one of the best rides at the park, probably the second best coaster at Alton Towers, just behind the Smiler. It's a classic, to be honest. Some people say that this coaster is overrated, but I cannot help but disagree with them. This coaster, for me, is almost underrated. It should be much more out there. I know that lots of people talk about it all the time, but for me, this should be a bucket list coaster for anybody from any other country. This and the Smiler definitely make Alton Towers a bucket list park, and so I am honoured as a British person to have Nemesis in the UK. So, for my scoring of this coaster, in terms of the layout, I will give this coaster a 4 out of 5. In my opinion, just a few more elements would perhaps make it a little bit more exciting, however the intensity cannot be doubted. For theming, I will give this ride also a 4 out of 5. The theming is spot on. However, throughout the ride experience, perhaps there could be slightly more references to the theming, but especially for an older coaster, the theming is incredibly good. For smoothness, I will give this coaster a 4 out of 5. It does have a slight rattle and occasionally can give you a bit of a headbanging, which is why it doesn't get a perfect 5. For the overall experience, I will give this coaster a 5 out of 5. That means that the coaster has got a score of 17 out of 20. Anyways, that's just my review of Nemesis. Just a heads up, there won't be any videos in the next couple of weeks. I am busy being on holiday. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one, whenever that is.